The U.S. is implementing a process called humanitarian parole to admit some at-risk Afghans who do not have visas. The Department of Homeland Security is deploying hundreds of personnel to help process people who are transitioning between Afghanistan and the U.S. Refugee advocates have called for the administration to implement this tool for months. CBS News Homeland Security and Justice reporter Nicole Sganga joins me now for more. Hi there, Nicole. So first, talk to us more about what humanitarian parole is and when it's been used before.
Yeah, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, he's granting this humanitarian parole to some of the Afghans being evacuated from Kabul who don't yet have legal permission to enter into the United States, but whose safety is at risk right now. And among those who could be granted parole are Afghans, for example, who assisted the U.S. war effort, but whose visa applications have yet to be fully adjudicated. Last week, more than 40 senators urged Secretary Mayorkas to create this sort of parole category that could cover those who don't qualify for visas, specifically, women leaders, activists, human rights defenders, judges, parliamentarians, journalists, members of the female tactical platoon of the Afghan Special Security Forces that aided in the U.S. war effort. And according to the memo from Secretary Mayorkas obtained by CBS News, this was sent to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. This authority does cover those who have never applied for a visa because they, quote, had not previously sought to leave Afghanistan and relocate in the United States. And this will go on for a period of 2 years. It does remain unclear how many Afghans will benefit. But the decision to use this humanitarian tool could be a game changer for those trapped in this massive backlog of special immigration visa applications, people who don't have time to sit around and wait for paperwork to be processed, and other vulnerable Afghans being airlifted right now from Kabul. And there is, to your second question, Elaine, a historical precedent to using the parole authority during mass evacuations of refugees after the fall of Saigon in 1975. The Ford administration actually paroled tens of thousands of Vietnamese refugees it evacuated so they could be resettled in the United States using this very same authority.
Yeah, there have been a lot of comparisons drawn to that situation. There's been a lot of pressure on the Biden administration to implement humanitarian parole. How are refugee aid groups reacting to this decision?
Yeah, Elaine, the reaction is bittersweet because while the move is welcomed by refugee advocates, former government officials who created, this program that I've spoken with, there is a question on everyone's mind, and it is what took the Biden administration so long to do this? Humanitarian assistance groups and think tanks like the International Refugee Assistance Project, the Human Rights First, the Atlantic Council, they've been advocating for this for months, warning current administration officials to have a plan in place for parole. The other concern, what will the process be to assist these individuals once they arrive in the United States? Humanitarian parole is a way to safety, but it doesn't come with the sort of standard benefits package that usually greets refugees with legal status to the United States. And once they arrive, vulnerable Afghans without visas will head to military sites in Virginia, Texas, Wisconsin, and New Jersey. Today, the U.S. has the capacity to house about 15,000 evacuated Afghans, according to a Pentagon spokesperson, but that number is going to have to grow to accommodate the tens of thousands being airlifted out of Afghanistan right now. I spoke to a handful of volunteers who greeted Afghan nationals and American citizens at the airport in Dulles outside of Washington, D.C. this past weekend, Elaine, and they described the scene as chaotic with no leadership, a shortage of supplies, including food, even telling me that at one point armed police officers had to guard the entryway to the area where individuals were being processed.
That's troubling to hear. The Department of Homeland Security isn't just faced with an influx of Afghan refugees, they're also managing a record number of asylum seekers at the U.S.-Mexico border. How is DHS balancing these challenges?
Yeah, this mammoth effort to screen vulnerable Afghans comes amid a parallel crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border, where last month interdictions of migrants and asylum seekers, they reached levels not seen in over 2 decades here in the U.S. U.S. border officials encountering 19,000 unaccompanied migrant children in July. That's an all-time high. Customs and Border Protection, they vet everyone. This is becoming a zero-sum game, Elaine, as the Department of Homeland Security and CBP will be forced to divide. It's already limited resources to address sort of these parallel crises, Afghanistan and, of course, Central American families from the Northern Triangle, countries that are seeking asylum right now at the U.S.-Mexico border. It is a huge challenge for the Department of Homeland Security.
Right. Nicole Sganga for us. Nicole, thank you.
Thank you.